live and let you know when you're good to go.
Thank you.
You are now live.
Thanks very much. Okay, welcome everybody. We'll start with the minutes of our last meeting. Are there any concerns? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the meetings as circulated? Okay, John Stanza, seconder, anybody? And Bob seconding, everybody in favor? Okay, moving on. Jennifer, did you want to take it?
Okay, done the minutes. So the business arising report, I'll just, Madam Chair, I believe we're going to make a motion regarding the appointment of a representative on the Ontario Library Service Board Assembly.
Okay, Mary has graciously agreed to take this position on.
Okay.
We'll give her all the help and support and information that she needs. And as Jennifer mentioned, anyone is welcome to, at least while it's done virtually, join in on these meetings if you so desire, without having voting authority, but still attend and find out what's going on. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome, I think.
We'll help you.
Just to note that my understanding is they will always be virtual because the board assemblies are based on population. So you will be paired with similarly sized public library boards across Ontario. So there's no way they're going to pay for you to get together for those kinds of meetings. So I mean, it will take some time out of your day on a Saturday, but you're not looking at traveling. The board's not looking at travel expenses. And if there is an issue that comes up or something on the agenda that all of you or some of you are interested in, the only requirement is that you register in advance so they know what kind of numbers they're looking at.
Perfect.
But thank you for that, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
We have resolved the Stainer emergency door issue. When the building was built, there was planning to, all the electrical is in the walls, to have a heating section over that part of the roof. So that we don't have icicles build up the way they have this winter. This has been a kind of strange winter, hot and cold and hot and cold.
Yeah.
So that actually is going to be part of the parks culture and recreation budget this year. So it's not even going to affect our budget, but it is going to happen. So that's great. Stainer fire extinguisher for the kitchen area has been put in. We didn't actually need one to meet building code, but the staff were somewhat concerned that when you're in the kitchen area and back towards my office, there is no exit and there was no fire extinguisher, and the most likely place to have a fire is going to be in the kitchen area. So we now have the fire extinguisher in place and installed. I've resolved the accessibility issue in the Stainer branch. We have to have a little computer in the electrical room to house, that computer operates the locks on the doors for both the library and the entrance into the atrium in that building. And because it's all not just the library, but also runs the controls for the doors for the township portion of the building, it had to run on the township's internet. So that has to be separate from the library's internet, which means it couldn't just be on one of the library computers. So that's why it's in there. And so now it's on a nice stable stand that can go against the wall when we're not using it, providing ease of access into the electrical room. When we do need to use it for like 3 times a year, when we have to change the schedule for the building entrances, we can just swing it out and bring up a computer chair and get it done lickety split. So we've managed that. The next big thing, I know you left it in my capable hands to decide when we should reopen. I will say that a little more than a third of public libraries in Simcoe Muskoka have decided not to reopen at this time. Some of them are waiting until we're orange. Some of them are waiting until we see a little more about what's happening with the variants. But I think by April 6th, the week of April 5th, we should be able to reopen as long as we adhere to the protocols and procedures we had in place before we last closed.
Mhm.
And that would mean that our New Lowell and Creemore branches would only permit 10 patrons at a time, plus the staff, and Stayner would have 15. Now, the province in its, comes out with, brings back the colors, but changes what they mean. What we're in right now would allow us to technically have more people in, but there are a lot of stipulations from the province and from the medical officer of health on what staff have to ensure happens in the library to remain open. And there is no way with the staff numbers we have in the library working in the customer service portion of our service that they could do that with more than that number of people coming into the building. So that would be my suggestion for opening on the 6th, that we remain with those numbers. We keep to 1 hour in the building a day, 30 minutes on the computer. I have heard from one staff member working in New Lowell who does a lot of the New Lowell hours that before we closed to the public, she had a lot of problems with the kids in terms of they would sneak off to use the teen computer in the back and take off their mask and congregate. I am solving that by shutting down the teen computer for the time being. And she also said some of the kids were not complying with pulling up their masks when they were requested to, or leaving after their 60 minutes. So I will be informing all the staff who work in New Lowell that if they have patrons, regardless of the age, but primarily for the younger ones who are really being unwilling to cooperate and abide by these protocols, that they will not only be asked to leave, but be told that they're not coming back for the balance of the week. And I think when that happens a couple of times, and when other kids see it happening, we will see an end to that behavior. But that's not to say that I wouldn't expect my staff, if somebody was really awful, to tell them to get out of the building politely. But I think in this case, I will make it very clear to them that they have authority from me to do this. And hopefully that will ensure that staff feel safe providing the service. Not that they're likely to get anything from young kids, but everybody has to comply, or else nobody should bother complying. And sometimes it's good to have kids set an example for adults. So I think if we do that, we'd be good to open that week. We've also discussed how we can take cash. So we could go back to printing and faxing. Now, people would have to give us exact change. I'm not having staff handle money and making change for people. So we will have jars for them to put their money in, which we will quarantine the money. But that certainly, we have talked to people who have been more than happy to comply with that, just so that, because a lot of people have computers, they don't or they have their devices, they don't necessarily have a printer. And yet quite often insurance companies, the government, whatnot, want you to print out a document, right? So you need somewhere to do that. So I think if we open, that would be a real boon for people. I am a little concerned that people are going to come into the library and want to book their appointments using library computers for vaccination. And I get that. I want to make it clear that the health unit has not given public libraries in Simcoe Muskoka any guidance on how to book. We have no more knowledge of it than the average person. Also, it's very difficult to assist someone on the computer. Michelle, I'm sure you can attest to this too, when we were open, when you have to be 6 feet back. My eyesight isn't that good. So, I mean, I think what we would do in that case, if people were asking us, is simply to direct them back to the health unit, which I know because they've just started on this new Ontario-wide portal for booking your vaccination. It's hard to get through, but really, I don't want staff to be giving information they really don't have. Like, don't make it up as you go along. Either the health unit needs to tell us how to help people, or we need to direct them directly to the health unit for advice.
Right.
And the last in this, okay, so our pledges are almost complete. We have one donor whose pledges will be coming in soon. And I would say that most of our pledges were not for multi-year pledges. Most of them were one time. So there weren't, I only had to talk to 2 donors. So that's good.
Mhm.
And then the CEO's report, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Okay, so the Stainer branch alarm pad, in fact, was not replaced. We found it was an issue with the bell line external to the building, which has been resolved at no cost to us because, of course, they fix their lines if they're not in your building.
Yeah.
However, the HVAC system at the Stainer branch continues to be problematic. I'm working from home this week, but as I informed Michelle, Terry Vachon, who's the general manager for Parks, Culture and Recreation, phoned me this morning and he said, don't come in until afternoon because it's freezing in here. So there's some work to be done upstairs, but he's on top of that. He's had additional training on how to use the system. And there are some issues going on right now, but I think it's going to be resolved within the next few days. So hopefully it will. One of our big problems was that we took ownership of the building, but didn't move in until later, of course, because we weren't allowed in libraries at all. So we couldn't get in for some months. And so some of the settings and everything else weren't quite right, but there was, how did we know when we weren't in the building? So that's what they're saying some of the issues are related to, but we'll see how that goes. And I'll keep you informed. The next item is CELA, cutting of funds from the federal government. Now, I understand that in a time of pandemic, every layer of government is trying to look where can we cut funds because all of a sudden the pandemic has cost us a lot more money. Although this was talked about in 2020 as well by the federal government. And so they're looking at cutting CELA's budget, or at least their federal funding of $4 million by 25% every year for the next 4 years until the federal monies are eliminated. CELA is saying that this is an extraordinary reduction in their budget. And I know you're probably familiar with the Canadian National Institute of the Blind, but it's actually CELA, and there's a Western, I can't remember what the initials are for the Western group that does the same thing, who actually curate and get the material out to people with vision disabilities. So we have been asked to assist, and you'll see under your correspondence that there is an email I received from CELA by sending a letter to the federal government. And they primarily like us to send it to our local MPs, but I don't think it would hurt to send one to the minister. There were some sample letters in that email. There was a link to click to look at them. I haven't proposed a letter at this point. I am proposing that the board chair and I draft something up and then either send it in if you're fine with that, or bring it back to the next meeting and have you approve it before it goes off. But I will say we have a number of patrons who rely very heavily on CELA to provide them with reading material. And to get material from CELA, you have to be a member of a public library and go through them to register. You can't just join on your own. It has to be through a public library. So I really do think we have a role to play here. Yeah. And so if I could get some direction on what you'd like the chair and I to do. Bob?
Thank you. I was actually on their site today, and it's got a lot of really great information, I must say. Didn't know anything about the organization until I got your email in and decided to go in and take a look. I did post it to my Facebook page. I used their Facebook page post about the cuts, and it's quite easy to transfer over to share it on my site, which is something that all of us could probably do. And I also sent letters off to the 3 individuals that they recommend, which was actually I didn't send emails. actually wrote out letters, because I found in the past I got replies, a boilerplate reply from anybody I had sent to before. So I don't know whether anybody really reads them or not. But I felt if I could put a piece of paper in front of them, maybe it had a chance. Anyway, I would certainly recommend that the board support their efforts to see if we can't get the cuts eliminated from the upcoming budget. And so I think I would make a motion to have the CEO to prepare and send a letter to the three parties that they recommend. And I guess that's basically just outlining the reasons why we believe it shouldn't cut $1 million from their budget.
I'd second that motion.
Okay.
And encourage anyone to do, as Bob did, the individual letters as well, not just from the board. If someone has extra time.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. The more people they hear from, the more likely they're not just, they might send you a boilerplate response, but they're more likely to read them when they start coming in bulk.
Yeah.
Now, I would think the other thing that happens when you send an email, it stays on the computer. Maybe hundreds or thousands come in, but it doesn't really impress upon the individuals who are dealing with them in the same manner that a stack of letters would.
Mm-hmm.
You see 500 letters sitting on your desk, you realize that it means something.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, that is great. Thank you very much. I'm sure they will appreciate everything we do for them. And I will ensure that we copy their executive director so she knows that we're behind this.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the strategic plan review, well, we're still in a pandemic, so some of these we're not moving as steadily on as we would like. So of course, we've transitioned to the new Stainer branch. We've resolved the one issue we had in accessibility in Stainer. I know we have asked the accessibility audit committee to look at audit Creemore this year, but I mean, we don't know when or if that will happen. It all depends how things roll out.
Bob, do you have a comment?
I just had a question. Did we vote on that motion?
Oh,
No, we
probably
didn't.
not. So do.
So
Just
Bob
for-
made the motion. Did someone want to second it?
I already
Yeah, Pam
seconded
is
it.
seconded. We just didn't have the vote.
Okay, all in favor then.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry,
Thanks, Bob.
getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, I don't know what the Creemore audit, what the timing on that will be. It's important, but obviously dealing with the pandemic is more important. Organizational review and update. I'm still finalizing the employee policy. Some years ago, with our previous HR manager, we had gotten away from revising the township's employee bylaw and started creating individual policies. So it's a little more difficult trying to bring them all together and put them into one employee policy. So not everything that affects employees is going to be in this, but it's going to be the policies that affect their hiring, their in terms of service and their employment and that sort of thing. So that's still a work in process. In terms of space development and modernization, well, I can report that Simcoe County Library Cooperative, our patrons are going to get through them a subscription to Press Reader, which will provide member libraries, including ourselves, with a lot of magazines and newspapers, including substantial national dailies such as the Globe and Mail, which people would love us to buy, but we can't afford. And I would note that this is being funded by member libraries, not by the Simcoe County Library Cooperative, because when they created their budget and it was approved, this wasn't part of their budget, mainly because they weren't well, they had looked at it, but it was going to cost too much.
Right.
But, when we all throw some money in there,
Mhm.
it's affordable.
So when does this start?
Probably not until April.
Okay, so we'll make a big announcement
We
about
will
it.
make a big announcement, and I will get in touch with the marketing and communications coordinator at the township, and we'll create a press release to go out, because this is a big news item.
It really is.
Yeah, and I have advised the general manager for Parks, Culture and Recreation, Kimberly, that you are the contact to discuss the landscaping around the Stainer branch. And I'm pretty sure he's been in touch with you already.
Yes, he has. We had a good chat yesterday. And actually, I thought perhaps Terry had said if I had any comments or questions on the plan, which I think everyone is aware of the fact that we already have a physical plan, which is engineer approved, and it's a good plan. I know that at least a couple of people have looked at it other than myself. Anyway, I have a PDF copy of this plan, and I thought I might send it out to the board, and then if anybody had any questions or comments on it, if you could send it to me. I need to respond to Terry's request for comments and questions by Friday, so this coming Friday. So if anybody thinks that they were, particularly had something they were asking about. And Bob, just to let you know, Terry and I already talked about the Lions Club and the maple trees. And what happened is Terry says that what we're going to do is we're going to do, what's it called, an RFP. Have I got my acronym right? Rather than a request for tender, because we already have a plan. And he said that it's much easier to amend those. So in the plan, it mentions for trees, it mentions bur oak, sugar maple, and a hackberry. But we can change those species and potentially their location, although the location looks good. But anyway, so we're going to be looking for proposals, and then we'll look at the proposals when they come in, and then we'll be ready to go. That's the condensed version.
Perfect.
That's great. Okay. That's it for that report, Madam Chair. And
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got the January 2021 statistical report. I would point out that because we're working every other week in the branch, that normally you would have the February one here as well.
Yeah.
But it's just, the library staff don't operate like the township. I don't have access to my electronic files unless I'm sitting in front of my computer. So it's a little harder to get some of this stuff together. You will get the information, but perhaps not as timely as you got it before. But it is there. You can see that everything's down from our programs to our circulation. But considering the circumstances that we're going through, I think we're doing very well. Yeah. And certainly our activity on Facebook and, well, not so much on Twitter unless I have those numbers reversed, but things are going up. We get a lot of response on Facebook. I can tell you that after hours, I get about 25 to 30 emails and Facebook messages requesting assistance with patrons' accounts every week. So they start at about 6 in the morning, and the last ones usually come in around 11:30. And then that's every day of the week that we're getting, but that's okay. That's what we're here for, is to give people good service. Because I think if you give them good service in a pandemic, they're going to come back even when you have regular service and they haven't used you before for years. So it's a good technique to keep people coming. And are there any questions on the statistical report? Connie?
Thank you. I was really impressed to see the youth numbers on the kits. Usually it's really hard to get youth even engaged in something like this because they can't be bothered, but I think they're getting quite used to the virtual and doing the library, and I was really impressed with the crew challenge and the crew kits. I think that's pretty cool. Way to go, you guys.
Yeah.
Pass that on to Elaine. She'd be very happy to hear that.
Mhm.
Bob, you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say that I came across a book title watching TVO one evening, and it was just a book that had just been published. So when I went to the library, I wasn't in great anticipation that it would be on hand, but lo and behold, there it was. So congratulations on being right up to date. This is a book that deals with the problems with nursing homes and retirement homes. So I was very happy to be able to pick up his book and read it right after having watched the interview on TVO the previous night. So that's great. Congratulations.
It helps that the person selecting the materials is getting older herself. That would be me.
I'll warn you if you pick up the book to read. It's called and I'm having my seniors moment here now. Anyway, don't read the first 2 chapters. You'll never sleep for a week.
Oh, okay.
Pass them by and read the solutions to the problems, not the problems.
Mm.
Okay.
Forgotten No More. I think that's Neglected No More. That was the title of the book.
Mm.
Right. Thank you, Bob. And Madam Chair, the only other report we have
Financial
we've
report.
done with the court correspondence is the bank accounts report,
Okay.
which again is basically just the interest.
Yeah.
And that's for January again. We have had a $300 donation towards our Stainer Library Building Fund since then.
Good.
But it wasn't in January, so it doesn't appear there.
Right. Thank you. Is there any other new business that someone would like to bring up? Connie?
Thank you. I got an email from Renee. He hasn't forgotten about us. He just, when we were in gray lockdown, he kind of let it go. So now that we're back in red, I guess he'll look into it again. But, you know, I told him that there's really no hurry. I don't think there is. I mean, and really we have no patrons going into the branch yet. So I said, you know, do it when you can. So I think he's also having trouble getting supplies, the things that he needs. So
Okay.
I just said, you know, when you can, we'll get it done. So
Good. Thanks.
fortunate, but there you go.
Did anyone else?
Okay.
Bob, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
I'm sorry, you were talking to me?
Yeah, did you say you had something else to bring up?
No, I don't think I think I've got
Okay, sorry, I
everything covered.
thought I saw your hand. Anybody else? That's it then.
Geez, I think this is a record.
No
I
kidding.
think so too.
Yeah, really.
What time is it?
It's only 4:30.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What'd we do? Run through that?
Well, no, it's fine. You're all set to attend whatever other meetings you've got up set for later today. Okay, well, our next meeting is Tuesday, April 20th at 4 p.m. And no doubt we will be meeting virtually, although this too shall pass.
I hope so.
And Madam Chair,
Okay. Can we entertain a motion to adjourn, please?
I'd be happy to make that motion.
Thank you very much. Okay, I guess we're all in favor. We don't have to second that one. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jen.
everyone.
Stay safe,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Okay.
Take care of that dog and cat.
That's my dog.
Your
My
dog.
dog, Bob.
Whose cat?
Bye, everybody.
I think it's
Bye.
Jennifer's cat, but it's Kimberly.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Mary. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Connie.
Bye.
Bye.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but
Okay.
we're still live on YouTube, so can you let me